10 Richest Celebrities. Who are the richest celebrities in the world today? As you are about to see, the minimum net worth required to be one of the 21 richest celebrities in the world right now is $600 million. When we published our very first ranking of celebrity wealth back in 2010, Diddy took the top spot with a net worth of $500 million. So the richest celebrity in the world back in 2010 wouldn't even break the top 20. Before the start of the video, make sure to leave a like, and if you want to see more content, subscribe. Let's get started. Number 10. J.K. Rowling, net worth $1 billion. The first of 10 celebrity billionaires, J.K. Rowling is obviously most famous for creating the Harry Potter empire, which has sold more than 500 million books worldwide and generated billions at the global box office. Rowling is one of the wealthiest private citizens in the United Kingdom and the first author in the world to achieve a net worth of $1 billion. It should be noted that J.K. is extremely private about her personal finances and has denied being a billionaire. That might be possible if she has secretly donated a large portion of her wealth to charities. For the record, it is known that she has donated at least $150 million to charity to date. She wrote the first book as an unemployed single mother living on welfare. Number 9. David Copperfield, net worth $1 billion. David is by far the richest magician on the planet. He earns $40 to $60 million per year, thanks largely to the 500-plus show he performs each year at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. After Las Vegas shut down due to the coronavirus pandemic in 2020, David did not lay off any staff and continued to personally pay every salary. David owns the world's largest collection of magic memorabilia. The collection contains more than 150,000 items, with especially valuable relics from Harry Houdini, George Méliès, and the father of modern magic, Robert Houdin. The collection is housed in a 40,000 square foot warehouse located several miles off the Las Vegas Strip. In Vegas, he owns an $18 million mansion. In New York City, he owns a 4-floor apartment that is worth at least $60 million. Number 8. Paul McCartney, net worth $1.2 billion. As most people know, Paul and John Lennon sold the publishing rights to most of their songs decades ago, in what has been proven to be a terrible mistake. Michael Jackson bought the catalog in 1985 for $47.5 million. A decade later, Jackson merged all songs, minus his own, with Sony Music to form a new company called Sony ATV Music Publishing. McCartney and Lennon's heirs do not own publishing rights to the majority of Beatles songs, but that doesn't mean they don't get paid for their usage. They both get songwriters' royalties, which in the United States average 33.33% of all revenue generated. Outside the US, they earn a shared 50%. Number 7. Jay-Z, net worth $1.3 billion. In February 2021, he sold 50% of his champagne brand, Armand de Brignon, to luxury conglomerate LVMH at a $640 million valuation. A week later, he struck a deal to sell streaming service Tidal to Jack Dorsey's other company, Square, for $300 million. Jay also owns equity stakes in SpaceX, Outly, Uber, Sweetgreen, and Ethos. When combined with wife Beyoncé's $500 million fortune, the couple's net worth is within striking distance of $2 billion. Beyoncé and Jay-Z own $100 million worth of art and $150 million in global real estate. Number 6. Kim Kardashian, net worth $1.4 billion. Kim's two most valuable assets are KKW Beauty, a direct-to-consumer beauty product line, and Skims, a shapewear company. KKW Beauty generates north of $100 million per year in revenue. Last year, she sold a 20% stake in KKW to Coty, the same company that bought 51% of half-sister Kylie Jenner's Kylie Cosmetics company in 2020. KKW Beauty was most recently valued at $700 million. Kim owns 72% of the company, giving her a pre-tax $500 million stake. Skims was launched in 2019. An April 2021 New York Times article reported that Skims had recently raised $154 million at a $1.6 billion valuation. Kim is believed to own 50 to 60% of the brand, giving her a pre-tax stake worth $800 to $960 million. Number 5. Jamie Gertz, net worth $3 billion. In 1989, Jamie married an upstart financier named Anthony Resler. After graduating from Georgetown University, Tony went to work at Michael Milken's now infamous investment bank, Drexel Burnham Lambert. Drexel pioneered the art of raising gobs of money for corporate raiders who would go out and buy companies with nothing down and lots of debt. After Drexel's implosion, Milken ended up serving 22 months in prison. In 1990, Tony co-founded Apollo Global Management. He and Jamie married the year before. In 1997, Tony co-founded Ares Management. Today, the company manages more than $130 billion in assets. In 2015, Jamie and Tony bought a majority stake in the NBA's Atlanta Hawks for an estimated $800 million. Today, the Hawks are worth $1.5 billion. Number 4. Oprah Winfrey, net worth $3.5 billion. Oprah and Jeffrey co-founded Harpo Productions. She owns 90%, he owns 10%, and proceeded to produce The Oprah Winfrey Show on their own dime. They then sold the show market by market. Next, Oprah and Jeffrey negotiated a much larger overall deal with ABC that included movie productions, a magazine, books, and, most importantly, the right to launch other TV shows under her production umbrella. All production for these shows would take place at her 3.5-acre Harpo campus. They weren't done. In 1999, CBS bought King World for $2.5 billion in stock. At her peak, when The Oprah Winfrey Show was airing, Oprah personally earned around $300 million per year from her media empire. Number 3. Kanye West, net worth $6.6 billion. Forbes is so quick to bestow billionaire status on some celebrities, Kim Kardashian, Kylie Jenner, Tyler Perry, based on extremely loose, unconfirmed data, but won't throw Kanye a bone. Kanye owns $100 million worth of real estate. He earns $100 to $200 million per year from all sources. His music catalog is worth $110 million. He owns 100% of the Yeezy apparel line. Yeezy generates $1.5 billion in revenue in 2020 and is worth $3.5 billion as a brand. Again, Kanye is 100% equity owner. Yeezy's partnership with The Gap is worth an estimated $1 billion. Number 2. Steven Spielberg, net worth $7.5 billion. What's the difference between James Cameron being worth $700 million and Steven Spielberg being worth $7.5 billion? Well, for one, Cameron-produced movies have generated $6.3 billion at the worldwide box office, whereas Spielberg-produced movies have generated more than $14 billion. And just like James, Steven has traded salary for points in a number of his box office smashes. For example, Spielberg earned $250 million off 1993's Jurassic Park, followed by $150 million from the sequel, and $75 million from the third installment, for a total of $475 million from this one franchise. But the real difference between being worth $700 million and $7.5 billion can be traced to an extremely lucrative deal with Universal theme parks. Oh, and for decades, Steven owned a not insignificant equity stake in Star Wars, thanks to a brilliant deal he struck with his good buddy George Lucas back in the early 1970s. Steven owns $200 million worth of real estate and a $250 million yacht. Number 1. George Lucas, net worth $10 billion. George Lucas owning 100% of Star Wars can be traced to what is by far the most brilliant business decision in Hollywood history. The long story short is that back in 1973, George agreed to accept a lower salary on the first Star Wars, which the studio was convinced would tank, in exchange for two requests. Number one, he would own all the merchandising rights. Number two, he would own the full IP, intellectual property, of the franchise after the first film. Between sequels, DVDs, and merchandise, Star Wars would eventually generate more than $12 billion globally. All profits went to George. George earns around $64 million per year, thanks to Disney's semi-annual 88-cent dividend. George is a signatory of the Giving Pledge and has indicated he would donate the majority of his wealth to charity by the time he dies or at his death. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this valuable content, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to Wise Thinker channel, and turn on post notifications to see more of our future videos. With that said, keep enjoying our videos, and I'll see you in the next video.